Right, hi lads and lasses, and welcome to Darts Coaching with Dynamite Dave. What we're going to do today is something a little bit different, something that we've not done for a long time. We're going to have a bit of an episode of a chuck and a chat. Right, so here we are, we're having a chuck and a chat. What I'm going to do now is just tell you what's going to go on in the video, and then you can decide whether you're going to stick around. Right, hopefully you'll stick around, because the first section is going to be a little bit of a talk through what we've been through, because we've been through the thing of the actual Dynamite Dave way, and now what I want to do is I want to go a little bit more in depth into about the mental side, because the mental side is quite an important part of the actual game itself. Well, more than a quite important part, it's a very important part. Then what we're going to do is we're going to go over into section 2, and I'm going to explain to you progress, because a lot of people progress and they get very disappointed, and I want to point out why they get disappointed to you, and to hopefully alleviate that and get you to believe that a little bit further down the road is greatness, because it is. And that'll be section 2. Section 3, which will be the third and final section, what we're going to talk about in there is what I call mental aggression. And there's positive aggression and there's negative aggression. And what we're going to talk about is how to turn your negative aggression into positive aggression, and some examples of that. So then that will be this video, and then obviously the next video will be about something totally different. In section 1, what we're going to do is we're going to talk about where we've come from. Right, so where have we come from? First of all, if you're new to Dynamite Dave, this is going to be all new to you. Hopefully you've set along the Dynamite Dave path and you're starting to see some progress. We've gone through the stance, which I call the building blocks or your foundations. The actual foundations of your throw are what holds you to the floor, and what holds you to the floor determines whether you're solid or not. And the more solid you are, everything that I say, I believe, is common sense. You listen to it, make your own mind up. If you're stood flat-footed, both feet, you're solid. If you're stood on one foot on the ball of your foot, and your back foot is just on the toe, or the toes of your feet, so basically you've got half an inch on the floor of your back foot, and the ball of your foot on your front foot, how on earth can that be stable? It's not. And I've proved it hundreds and hundreds of times when I've got people to set up in the studio here and said to them, you set up your normal way, or I've set them off, not said a word to them, watched them first 2 or 3 visits, and I've said, right, hang on a second, before you throw your next dart, set yourself up, bring your arm up as if you were going to throw it, but don't throw it. Then what they do is they bring their arm up as if they're going to throw the dart, and just before they throw the dart I stop them and I go over and I literally poke them with one finger like that, and I can push them over with one finger. And then what I do is I say to them, how can you believe that what you're doing there is stable? Because it isn't. I proved it isn't. And when you actually let go of the dart, you're actually standing on one foot. So if you try and stand on one foot and throw your dart, there's no way that that can be stable. So common sense dictates, and also the people who I conversed with while I was actually developing the Dynamite Dave way, which was a physiotherapist, a skeletal mechanic. So basically they know all about all the skeleton and how it's all put together. and these are the people who actually work out how to do and see what's possible. And all these people have said the same thing to me. Also, I went to a boxing coach and a cricket coach. I spoke to a cricket coach, a boxing coach, a snooker coach, which was another one, and every one of them said exactly the same thing. Obviously, if you're playing snooker and you can lean on the table, you're using the table as your foundation. But if you're stood back from the table, you watch snooker players, they don't lift one of the feet up off the floor, or they lift both the heels off the floor. Exactly the same with boxing. Basically, virtually any sport you can think of. You look at a cricket, somebody who's at the wicket, holding a cricket bat, they're not doing that, are they? What they're doing is they're stood still with both feet flat on the floor. So that's where the actual basis of it comes from. Thorax neutral, so the upper body position, just going through the little sections of it here, the upper body position is exactly the same. It remains solid. And the thing is anything that's reliable can repeat the same thing over and over again and get the same result. So it's not like that. Well, I'm not sure whether it's Einstein or somebody turned around and said the actual definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. Because if you do the same thing over and over again and expect it to get better or improve, then you're insane. It just isn't going to happen. It happens. Some people will say, well, I've been playing for years and I started when I was young and I was no good and then I got to be really good. And that's over years and years of minute changes. There's no way that you start throwing it one way, 10 years later you throw exactly the same in exactly the same manner and you're 10 times better. That just defies logic. Just defies logic completely. So that's what it's all about. The old Dynamite Dave thing is all about finding the best way to do this. You think about it from time immemorial, and I've said this a million times, when we all started playing darts, I bet 90% of you guys out there are watching are exactly the same. Somebody gave you a set of darts, you just went, throw them at the board. If you're any good at it, you're any good. If you're not any good at it, then so be it. But it doesn't have to be that way, does it? It's like people have said to me, in here, in the pub, and especially on Facebook and what have you, because we've all got one of these in the dart team, haven't we? That's, let's just say, a bit headstrong, shall we say that? Because that's the thing. And they turn around and they say to you, you should throw the way that you're comfortable. And my response to that, and you'll see this in my other videos if you've watched my other videos, if you're crap and you want to be comfortable and you want to stay comfortable, then you will stay comfortably crap and you will never get any better. It's as simple as that. You cannot throw, if your throw isn't mechanical, you can't throw, be comfortable and progress. Exactly the same as if you're holding a cricket bat to deliver a cricket ball and somebody's bowling at you at 100 miles an hour, there's no way that you can just think to yourself, oh, I'll just slog the ball whichever way I want and I'll be the best in the world. Because I tell you something, you won't. So it's the other one that I've said to people, fantastic one this, and I use this in the pub all the time because it really does resonate with a lot of blokes, this does. I turn around and say to them, they say, oh well, you think you should be able to throw whichever way you're comfortable. There isn't a right way to throw a dart, there isn't this thing. And I turn around and go, well there is. And here's my logic behind it. If you take your son, and I usually say to him, have you got kids? Well, yeah, of course I have. Have you got a lad? Yeah, I've got 2 of them. Or 3 of them. Oh right, so you taught them how to play football then? Well, yeah, of course my lads play football. He said, but they do, yeah. I says, but if you went to a football coach and he turned round to you and said, say your sons were absolute garbage, right, and they were toe banging the ball and they couldn't head it because what they were doing was heading it right with the top of their head there, like that, to try and head the ball, and he turned round to you and said, well, the important thing is they're comfortable, aren't they? They're enjoying it, it's comfortable, they're doing their best, aren't they? If you were paying a football coach to tell your kids to do that, would you be happy? No, because how on earth, right, are you ever going to learn how to bend the ball or kick the ball with any power and finger and accuracy by booting it with the end of your toe? Because let's face it, that's what kids do when they first start playing football. And my granddaughter's the same, she's 2 now, and she's walking around and what she does is when she goes to kick the football, she kicks it with the end of her foot. She doesn't think, oh, I'll do a Pele here and I'll kick it with the top of my foot or the inside of my foot. She's not worked that out for herself, and she never will if nobody tells her. So, if nobody tells you how to throw a dart properly, or nobody ever comes up with, like I believe I have, and I truly believe that I have, come up with the correct way to throw darts, then what can you expect? If you want to be comfortable, you've got to expect to be mediocre. You do get, and yes, you're quite right, and there'll be people there going, what load of crap, what about Phil Taylor, what about this, what about that? Well, there's all circumstances behind each and every one of those players. But you've usually got somebody like Jockey Wilson. You watch the way that he thrutches at the darts. Very difficult to understand how on earth he can get those darts in that board, how he does. But he can. He's won in, how many have we got in this country? Or did we have him when he was around? 35, 40 million, 1 in 40 million. And then you've got the others. Eric Bristow throws totally different. But again, another 1 in 40 million. So that's 2 in 40 million who can actually throw properly. You think about it. The actual upper echelons, even now, we've probably got the best part of 100 million people in this country. The best part of the upper echelons of our darts is probably 32 players. 32 players are what I would class as like proper world-class players that are there week in, week out, and they're there in every competition. You get loads of them like David Chisnell and what have you. They'll come in, they'll do 2 or 3 rounds of a tournament and they're gone. Because the standard has come up that much, they just can't keep up with it. Again, you look at David Chisnell, he's got a bit of a wild throw, to say the least, at times. Does a lot of thrutching and what have you. Again, probably one of the best 180 hitters in the world in his time. Not anymore. Not anymore. Because the actual reasoning behind it, for me, is if you've got something that's mechanical and you can repeat that till well late on in your life. Up until when I had my chest operation, even, I'd say before I had my knee operation, so we're going back, let's call it 5-6 years. 5-6 years ago, up until then, I was 50, so I'm 60 now, so I would have been 54, 55. And I had, my actual best was 116.5 and 116.6. Those were done on 2 sessions about 6 weeks apart. My best long match, 10 sets, 107.4 at 50 odd years old. And I ain't no professional dart player. People say to me I should have been, but that isn't me. It's not what I want. That isn't for me. Teaching's for me. I love teaching. And think about what I've had to go through to develop this, and the amount of abuse that I've had from the game and from professionals in the game, from people on Facebook, and I still get it to this day. For the simple reason is they do not want to believe that I could be right, that there can actually be a correct way to throw a dart. But as night follows day, if there's a right way to throw a rugby ball, if you've got a rugby ball and just hold it side on, and just hold it, or spun it through the air, the guy who's receiving it wouldn't be able to catch it, would he? You have to throw a rugby ball, like an American football, in a certain way so it goes like a missile. And if you didn't do that, the receiver wouldn't be able to catch it. So there's a correct way to throw a rugby ball, correct way to throw an American football. There's a correct way to throw a discus. There's a correct way to throw a shot put. There's a correct way to throw, deliver, use a golf club, use a cricket bat, throw a basketball. There's everything. There's a right way or a better or best way to do things. And that's what I believe that I've done, is found those best ways. So the upper body position, so you've got your thing, you've got your foundations, which is your stance. You come up the legs stay nice and solid. Little bit of weight on the front foot, so as it does a little bit of turn, so it doesn't destroy your kneecap, because that's the last thing you want. Perfection would be proper side on 90 degrees with your body, turn your head right over your shoulder, but that's all that's going to do is I think that's going to cause you problems long term. So what we do is obviously we come up, and what we do is we allow the shoulder to come out a little bit, we allow a little bit of flex in the knee. So then what we've got is we've got a nice, what I call comfortable position. It might not be for you for the first 2 or 3 weeks, but believe me, don't forget, put the comments down below here. Tell people if you've changed to the Dynamite Dave way and you've seen a massive improvement or any improvement at all by putting a bit of effort in. Put it in the comments down below. It makes a huge difference to my channel. If you're here and you've watched the channel and you haven't subscribed, please, please, please subscribe. It doesn't cost a penny. Not 1 shilling, not 1 dime, not $1, not €1. All you've got to do is below this box you'll see it says subscribe on it, and it's got a little bell on one side. Click that subscribe button and then it'll come up with the bell. Click the bell and click all. And then whenever I put a new video out, you'll be one of the first to get to see it, or you will get a notification to invite you to come and see it. And that is all there is to subscribing. There's no money involved whatsoever. So please, please, please subscribe to my channel, because only 1 in 10 people who watch my videos actually subscribe to the channel. So you're coming up to the upper body. The upper body position is just an extension from the legs. The upper body position stays the same. It's exactly the same as your legs, it stays the same. The only part that moves in this throw when you're changing to, let's say, in exclamation mark, I don't aim because I just think all you're doing is just overthinking it, you're trying too hard. Once you get into that sort of level, you're starting to overthink things, and the more you overthink things, the worse things are going to go for you. I swear to you, I promise you that. The more you overthink it, the worse you will get. So we'll just use the term aim. So wherever you're aiming on the board, all you do is adjust at the hips. You always throw from the centre of the hockey, unless there is one caveat. If you've got 3 darts in hand and you're going for, let's say, double 16, we move across the hockey appropriately. My hockey is marked up with dead centre ball, double 11, double 6, and between those 3 marks I can judge dead easy, and I don't even judge it now, I don't even think about it. Even when I go to the pub I don't even think about it. I know exactly where I need to be, and I stand there and I just line straight up with a double 16, and it's a straight throw as if I was throwing for the treble 20, only down, bang. And anybody in the pub will tell you, probably not now, but couple of years, 3 years ago, it was either first or second dart. It was very rare I ever had to come back for a second visit to hit a double. Very, very rare. And that's the reason why, is because I throw at the doubles exactly the same way as I throw at the 60, or the 57, or the 54, or the 51. I throw at everything, every section of the board, I throw the same. I find that 99.9% of you guys that don't do the Dynamite Dave way throw a different way at every different piece of the board. You either move your elbow across, you throw down, you drop your elbow, you move your arm across, or you swing your arm out so your darts will go across to the other. They do all sorts of crazy things to try and get from one part of the board to the other. The simple, down, throw, across, throw, middle, throw, 60, throw, double 19, throw. It's as simple as that. There's none of all this malarkey and palaver going on. So it means, going back to right at the beginning of this video, one of the first few sentences that I said, doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. It's the same thing back to front. If you do different things every time you go to that hockey, how on earth can you think that you're going to hit a 180? The amount of players that I see, going back a couple of steps, every time they come to the hockey they're stood in a different place. If you stand in a different place and throw the same, you're not going to hit the target that you say. Visit 1, you throw a certain way from a certain place on the hockey. Visit 2, you throw exactly the same, but you stand in a different position on the hockey. And what on earth makes you think that you're going to hit the same target? Because I'm telling you now, you ain't. It's as simple as that. Same thing, you stand, visit 1, you stand in the centre of the hockey and you throw. You get 3 nice darts, brilliant that. You stand in exactly the same place again, and next time you're throwing from in front of your face. So basically, you're throwing from a different position again. So how on earth can you think that you're going to hit the same target? The only way you can hit the same target is by doing the same things. So the upper body position comes from the legs to the body, and that is to keep you all in a nice straight line. And then the mechanical throw, same thing again. It remains the same. Nothing changes. Doesn't matter whether you're going for double 19 or whether you're going for double top. You're using the same arm speed and you're using exactly the same mechanical parts, and there's only two of them, and that's your elbow and your release. That is it. Your arm stays horizontal, this part, your upper arm stays horizontal, your forearm stays vertical, and your hand comes over the top. Straight over the top to the target. And no, you don't aim the dart comes to the side of your face and you throw it like you'd throw a cricket ball. How many times have you ever seen anybody pick a stone up to into the river and they've got hold of the stone and gone like that with it? You don't see it, do you? Do you ever see a man pick a cricket ball up, go like that with it? I've never seen that. Whether you have or not, I don't know. Rugby ball. They get hold of a rugby ball and they've got to throw it 35 yards. Where do they throw it from? Here? In front of the face to try and aim it? No, you throw it from here. And it starts off massively exaggerated. Let's take a cricket ball. Starts off over here and you launch it. You launch it overarm because it goes in a straight line. If you launch it from the side, if you hang on to that ball a split second too long, it's off over there somewhere. So 99.9% of people who throw a cricket ball, if you watch them, they throw overarm. What do we call overarm? And all that is overarm, 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 straight line. You don't need to stick it in front of your face. You don't need to look down the dart to see where it's going to go. Because if you've got a good solid mechanical way of throwing, it'll go exactly where you want it to go. And that's the explanation all the way from the ground upwards of the mechanical throw.